What is up, everybody? Sean Sheehan here for Severe MMA, and I am joined today by the face of Cage Legacy, Richard Kiely, before his fight with John Redmond at Cage Legacy 17 Hero. Not too far away now, Richard. Only what, 2 weeks away?
3 weeks and tomorrow. 3 weeks and tomorrow.
How are you getting on? I see you have a few old marks in the face there. I saw you over.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to be back jousting with my own nemesis, Sean.
Yeah. You've a few of them around. Is it me now you're talking about, or Charlie?
You're my nemesis. You're my interview nemesis.
Yes.
Yeah, 3 weeks. Yeah, I have a few decorations. Which way? A few decorations on the face there, right, from courtesy of Charles Ward III in his cage, pressing my face into a cage. We had a great spar, really good spar now. Good hard rounds in it, and it was just exactly what we needed, So just to clarify, these aren't like Charlie's a great sparring partner. These are just like pressure bruises from the cage, just from
yes.
So like I see that fucking chimp, the moron doesn't know the difference, probably because he's fucking sparring with fucking 12-year-olds or 16-year-olds and people that are white belts and that kind of carry on. He likes being the hammer, doesn't like being the nail. So I don't know how they're going to. I don't know how he envisages they're going to prepare him for me. But like I said, he's not a man that sticks much forethought into stuff. He's not exactly the intellectual savior of the masses, is he?
We'll get into that. In a second. Look, we'll talk more about Johnny in a second. I will first ask you about the injuries and stuff like that, because it's what, 2 years now, over 2 years, 2.5 years since you had it. Yeah. We've spoken, I suppose, briefly about those the injuries that you had, especially I suppose into the MVP fight. Will you give people maybe a more detailed kind of breakdown of that? Because there was a lot of talk about it at the time, and then obviously you didn't want to say much at the time because people would think you're making excuses or whatever. But obviously with the kind of the fight way in the past now and everything, tell us about the injuries kind of around that fight, before that fight, and maybe that you had to deal with, for a good while.
Yeah, so I had a really significant neck injury about 8 weeks prior to the fight. I got a spike in my neck, and I was doing a positional sparring with Johnny Walker, and there's no way I should have been doing a positional sparring with Johnny Walker. I didn't envisage what was going to happen. So you put the two of us beside, in terms of Johnny would have been about easily 40 kilos heavier than me, 30 to 40 kilos heavier than me, I'd say, at the time. And he threw me, and he landed two of us. He went with it, and he threw me, and he landed with my body weight, his body weight, and the focal point of the impact was on my head. And that herniated disc cut off all the power into my arms. They were called the brachial plexus nerves. So I had that was probably the worst injury I've done. I did the ACL before the Lahore fight. Like I said, I don't like injuries, it is what it is. But that was a really, really bad injury, like in terms of from pain, mobility. The fact that I went from literally 1 second before that having full mobility of a very explosive right arm to the thing just hanging there. And I was like, what? And it was pulsing, and then from a pain perspective, it was the nerve. It was big. Encompassed my whole back. My arm was like, and I had about 6 or 7 different sensations from like having a weight on my forearm, like a car was parked on my forearm, to getting stabbed on my upper arm, and then it was like just having hot water scalded down my neck and my back, and to the extent where I couldn't sleep. So I was on opioids, I was on anti-inflammatories, I was on sleeping tablets. So the only sleep I could get was lying flat on my back, but I had to alternate every 20 minutes from the bed to the floor. So the only training I did in advance of that fight was I could only, and just it was purely from weight management. I had to get assisted onto an exercise bike with a supporting wall behind me to keep my back straight. Just try to steady state, just pump the legs, and that was with a view just to get the weight off. So I went into that fight knowing what was going to happen, which was very disappointing because I really believe that could have been a great fight. It was a massive anticlimax, a massive disappointment, not just for me, but for the fans. The build-up was everyone saw the build-up, and there was a buzz around it. And, it was just a real disappointment. But like I said, the money, he wouldn't have taken the fight again, because it was, I believe I was in his head. Even at the weigh-ins, because I was constantly, the only thing I had was hoping for was a left hook, but I had no twister torn in it. So I went into the fight knowing what that happened. It was supposed to. That happened on a Thursday with Johnny Walker, and then on a Tuesday they wanted me in the operating theatre to fuse C6 and C7, remove the disc and have C6 and C7 fused. I declined based on the fact that the money that was there was, would have gone towards significant chunk of change towards buying a house for me and my son. And that was why I went in. So I went in knowing what was going to happen, and it did. When he copped it straight away in the fight, my mobility was impinged. I couldn't turn on a leg kick. When I was on the ground, he didn't land one shot on me on the ground. He was hitting off my arms, and it was like just getting tasered, for the whole. I woke up, I got up, and I couldn't see past I was seized, and I didn't even see the knee coming. I wasn't even concentrating the knee. Like, the knee didn't boot me out. I remember the knee hit me and staggered me, but I was still compos mentis. But even after getting the knee in the head, all I could think of was my back, my neck, and my arm. Like, I wasn't thinking about the pain of the knee. Like, I could have easily gotten up from that. It was a great stoppage by Dan Mergliotta, stopped me from absorbing more punishment. It was what it was. That was it was very disappointing. And you hear everyone then after it, like, even that fucking idiot Johnny, you got put out by MVP, isn't he? Grand, like, he wouldn't have the courage to do that. The courage he took, knowing after seeing what he was after doing to Cyborg Santos, what he was capable of doing, and he has that nastiness in him, which is that is not it's not a negative reflection of MVP. It's the fight game, but he has that kind of killer instinct, So what he was after doing to Cyborg Santos, and I was going in, it was like walking at the gallows, because of no mobility, like nothing to offer in terms of offense. From a defense perspective, I couldn't do much. So I knew what was going to happen. It was just a matter of what he was going to catch me with the knockout. And that's essentially what happened. And I would challenge anyone to go in and knowing what was coming with that injury, with that level of pain, against that fighter, after seeing what he was after doing to Cyborg Santos, and do it. So for whatever Johnny says, he wouldn't have the guts, the courage, to do that. I know what Johnny's like. He's a coward. He's inherently a coward. He's a bully, So for him to say that, it was rich coming from him. And not that I lend much credence, which weight was opinion, because he's an idiot, But to even perpetuate that, was just there. You're a dick, an idiot, and you're a coward. And it shows your true colours. Because I know what he's like. I've seen what he's like. He's a bully. He brings people in. He brings kids in that have no experience, charges them 50 quid an hour for a training session, and knocks the bollocks out of them. And he goes, "Oh, am I great?" That's the measure of the person we're dealing with.
Around the time of the MVP fight, obviously we did interview, and it kind of went all over the place. Ariel was tweeting about it, and other people as well. And like at the time, it was
yeah.
But that was more like, having said what you just said there, and knowing what you were going through. That was more. I don't think it was anything I said. Really, it was more what you were.
It wasn't that to do with you. It wasn't that to do with you. And like I said, Sean, I like you as a person. We have good. And like you give it to us straight, whether you like it or not. And I think where it was, I felt disrespected because I knew what my ability is. I knew my ability. I'm not saying I would have won that fight, but it would have been close. It would have been whoever landed first. And I still, this day, I believe that. I think I had the skill set to beat him. He also had the skill set to beat me. But it would have been a lot closer than people thought. So when you said that, I was triggered. I was there. I knew what was going to happen. I was there. This is, and so I was sensitive. I was in pain, and I was there. It was just very frustrated. And that you kind of got bored of brunt of that, but you deserve it.
To be fair, do you know what though? If you'd said it to anyone else, it could have gone very badly. We're lucky it was me that was on the end of it, because I could take it at least. A lot of people, but it was like you gave me a text even later on that night, and I don't mind anyway, even if if you are mad at me or anyone's mad at me.
I respect that you're direct and you'll ask the tough questions, and I respect that, and I didn't mind you. I don't mind you asking the tough questions. I really don't. Like I said, I was just triggered at the time, and I was there. Like, you did not to give me a chance. You don't know. So that's what it was. So I owe you an apology, but you're not getting it.
No, I don't want it.
I'm only messing. I think I sent you a text later that evening.
I did, yeah, you did. Around that time, though, was Was that kind of tough? Was that a struggle to deal with it a little bit? Like the fact that kind of went viral, and not even just that, but the press conferences as well, and yourself and MVP having the kind of that back and forth in the hotel, and there was loads of people talking about that fight at the time. Was that something you kind of struggled to deal with? I know you're.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't something I struggled to deal with. Like, I think people know that. Like I am polarized, and I recognise that I'm polarized. And not many people, there's some people that will like me, some people dislike me, some people that really enjoyed seeing me get knocked out, and some people, were disappointed. That it wasn't more of a contest. I didn't find that, man. I know I'm a strong character. I know the person I am. I know what I'm capable of. So, I don't view myself through the eyes of others. So whatever they think, I don't give a fuck, because I know that 99.9% wouldn't have the courage to go in and do what I did. So, and I'm, going against one of the best in the world at what he does, with effectively offering nothing. You're standing on target, knowing you're going to go in, and it's a matter of picking for him to pick what thing he did. And I'm proud of myself for being able to do that. I'm proud of myself for having the courage to do that, knowing what was going to occur. And like I said, very, very few people would do it.
Yeah, I thought the reaction was weird.
And on top of that, knowing what was going to come in the back because of the interest I had generated in the fight, and the buzz around the fight, and knowing the backlash that was going to come off the back of it. So it wasn't just the physical aspect. It was the so I'm a strong character. I could totally take that. It wasn't pleasant. And it made me want. I had to bite my lip, and at times I felt like, here you fucking prick, come over to me in the cage and then have a word. Then see how valid your opinion is.
Yeah.
At times I wanted to do that, but that's just normal. I'm human.
You're to me and no one else. Yeah. But it was it's like I was getting loads of those things afterwards and go, oh, Sean, you were right and all this shit, which I didn't like at all. Like, I have great time for you, and I always had before and afterwards as well. Like, and I didn't want none of that shit, and I never perpetuated that afterwards, especially at a fight or anything like that. But I thought it was just very weird. And like, in one way, it was obviously bad for you, but it was great for you in terms of what you did worked. You were trying to rile people up, you were trying to make people mad, and there's no doubt about it that it worked. As you said to me once, like, well, at that time you were 4 fights into your career before that fight. You were in one of the top fights in the card against MVP. Everyone cared, like, for someone to get there, and you were a bit older as obviously as well when you started MMA. In one way, that abuse must make you feel a bit proud, to be honest, because like you created all that in such a short time.
Come here, it's like, in fairness, I was very Machiavellian. Like, I was able to, I recognize my audience. Like, these are, I triggered their ego, and like you saw with Alex Lahore and what have you. Like, and I was in their heads. I was in MVP's head as well. I was in his head. I was in Alex Lahore's head. And like, you see that idiot Redmond, like, he's fucking, like I said, that fella has to take his shoes off to count how many losses he has, right? But if you have a look at my losses, the losses I have against Alex Lahore, who was the BAM World Champion at the time, and I had an ACL injury, and he went straight for the knee bar. First thing he did come out was kick me in the leg, so he clearly knew about the thing and went straight for the knee bar. MVP with the neck injury, and then George Hardwick with the neck injury, and George Hardwick is now lightweight cage warriors champion. So the caliber of people have thought. Sorry?
What was the story with that George Hardwick fight? Because I was just looking there. That was only 3 months after the MVP fight.
Yeah, and if you have a look, it was in denial. I was just there like, it was the same thing when I did my ACL. Like, after I had the operation on the ACL, I went back kicking about 4 weeks after it, and then I had a relapse thing. I could barely walk, back on crutches and stuff like that, which was why I retired. Like, so it was just, trying to force myself. I can recover quicker now. So it just couldn't. So after that, like, I knew there was a weakness in the arm. Like, I remember he had me up against the cage. There was a weakness in the arm. I had no way. My frame wasn't. You just bypassed it as if it wasn't there. The right arm was like the movement had recovered. Like, I was able to move it, but it was like it was carrying a dumbbell in it. Like, there was nothing, no pop, nothing, and it was just there. The neck doesn't work like that. You're like nerve damage. Like, I was told that, if I didn't get the surgery, that I could have a permanent loss of movement in my arm, and permanent atrophy. And luckily enough, it hasn't happened. It's come back, and I've been very lucky because I didn't get the surgery. So I was very, very lucky. So now, for the first time, and I don't know how long, I feel really, really good. I feel really, really good. Like, I'm hitting extremely hard. It's like it's come back. Like, I can feel the knockout power, which is great. And my movement is good. My movement is great. Like I feel the way I was before the neck injury happened.
I know I was talking to you maybe about 6 months ago, or maybe even longer, and there was, always that Terry Fraser fight was always one that was kind of coming up, and there was rumors of other things as well. I remember the last message you sent me was something about John Redmond, funnily enough, and then I was like, hold on, what's going on? But what was the decision like to come back? I know you've been, not necessarily planning it for a while, but you've always kind of been, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've always been in the mind if something pops up, you'll go in there and kind of take it. But have you been like in the full of health for a while and kind of waiting for an opportunity?
Yeah, so like Cage Legacy have been trying to get me on the show for a while. I'd like to I'd like it's almost like for myself is to get the monkey off the back now, so I'm back full strength and full fitness, and like no hindrances to performance or anything like that. And not to use them as an excuse, because it's the fight game. People get injured, and that's what happened. That's just bullshit. I recognise what it is. I'm not using that excuse, but for me, I feel good, and for now, it's great now to be able to go in and like not being encumbered by injuries and what have you. And that was the main reason. And I love combat sports. I'm doing combat since I'm 7. And there was an opportunity for a title, whether it's a Cage Legacy title or the world title as Johnny Jitsu, the Cage Legacy world title, the Johnny Jitsu.
What's sake, Jesus.
But it's a profession.
My thoughts on world titles. I hate fucking Cage.
Yeah, I know. Well, the Cage Legacy world title, the John Redmond refers to as, right? But it'd be nice to pick up. It'd be nice to pick up a title just as a, just to say I have a title. But more importantly, it's a really big fight. It's an interesting fight, and it seems it's captured the imagination. There's more people talking about this fight than any other fight. That's and no disrespect to any of the Bellator fights. There's some great fights on that, but this seems to have captured the imagination of the Irish public more than any. Maybe it's because it's me and that chimp. But and it's going to be an exciting fight. Like what they expect.
When the fight was announced, a lot of people had a bit of a problem with it, obviously, because we know with Johnny last only a few weeks ago, he was in court, obviously, with the assault thing with an ex-girlfriend and everything like that. And I saw a few people only a few weeks ago saying that like he has no place in Irish MMA. They were giving out about Cage Legacy, and I'm not saying it's all someone else was saying it. It's definitely a thing that people should be saying and could be saying. What's your stance on that? And as part of that fight as well, did you have any thoughts about not taking the fight because of that? Or what was your? I
don't know the details and the ins and outs of it. It'd be unfair for me to comment on it, and I will respect the person, the girl that was involved. I respect it, and Johnny has a partner and he's a baby and all that stuff. So I don't really want to comment on that. And to be honest, it's not my place to. I don't know what it's about. I don't know the ins and outs. So I'm not going to comment on it. That's for Johnny to deal with in his everything. So I don't want to comment on that. But I can comment on is the interview. I felt he let himself down in that interview that we had. And I'm no angel when it comes to interviews and being antagonistic and stuff. But there's young kids that watch that, and I've been aroused press conferences of trying to kick on at Daniel Lenchek when he pushed me in the thing. But the stuff, how we spoke about before his fights and stuff like that. I'm looking at this kid. I know there's kids that look at that press conference, and I was there. What are you doing? What are you saying? I thought he let himself down. I thought that was an embarrassment to MMA. That part of it was. And if anything, that's I found that very. I didn't. It was just there. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? That's.
Obviously, you've trained together before, and Johnny's kind of known, I suppose. I've trained a lot of the gyms in Dublin. I remember when he left Team Rhino at the time. Neil Seery and Paul Redmond probably didn't have the best things in the world to say about him, like straight to his face, not even behind his back or anything like that.
Yeah, I saw that.
As someone who trained in SBG with him and has trained with him before, what was the general impression of him at the time, and what did you did a bit of sparring and stuff like that? How did that go as well? That's
So
not
like,
a question at all.
I wasn't lying. I wasn't lying when I said this flicky. He was talking about this flicky kick, like he's nonsensical. Like he was there. We battered all your teammates as well. He said, and I was like, which teammates? I said, like JMS stopped him twice. Will Fleury stopped him twice, or bashed him twice. Chris Fields bashed him twice, or bashed him once. Charlie knocked him out. You don't think he's ever won against any of my teammates. So I don't know where he's coming from with that. Like, so that's nonsense. What he was like, come here, what you see is what you get, kind of thing. Like, I actually felt a bit of compassion for him, like a lot of stages. You know, he's a character. You know, I thought he had. I think the psychological issues there, if I'm being completely honest, like the psychological issues there. So I had a bit of compassion for him. What I didn't like was the bullying. You know, like I said, the bringing kids in or bringing beginners in, knocking the bollocks out of them, and then like charging them, and then, you know, I'm a great fighter. You're going to send someone off with a broken confidence. You're going to send someone off gun shy, and, you know, like after getting a hiding and paying for the pleasure of it. You know, don't get that. Didn't get that at all. You know, even when I was sparring him, all I worked on was timing, whereas he'd try to take your head off each time, which was grand because I could see it coming a mile away. So it was there right grand. So we just moved around, didn't use any excessive force. The one that then he was like at the interview was gas. He was there, you're flicky. All you have is a flicky front kick and a shovel feint. Like, you can say what you want about the only thing I have, and that I'm only a basic kickboxer. You know, I was there. All right, cool, right, whatever you like. Like I said, I don't lend much weight to his opinion. But this flicky kick that he was talking about made him do chicken dance, and there was nothing in it. Just timing, just a little bit of timing, and literally nothing in it. And he was chicken dancing all over the place. So, you know, and the fact that he doesn't get that if I put power into that, the repercussions would be a lot more than I'm doing the chicken dance. You know, so he doesn't get that. He's deluded, or he's delusional, like in terms of like his. Yeah. And I'll give it to him. He's either too stupid or he's got a lot of balls. He can win a fight anyone, in fairness to him, you know, and, you know, to his detriment.
I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you for a prediction. I could probably get your prediction. You're probably going to say you're going to knock him out. Tell us exactly how. If you like, some people come on and go, oh, you know, we'll work away, we'll go into the final. Go on, give us the shot. Tell us exactly. I know you're very confident going into this fight, and you trust in your skills. What do you think?
So there's multiple shots, and I'm not just saying there's multiple shots, and it's like the cage is small, and I'm working in small cages. The cage is small, so I know exactly what he's going to come in. He's going to try. You see him doing this bloody boxing, like, and he's definitely juicing as well. If you see his change, the difference in his body composition over the past thing so quickly, you know, 90%. Not, but that doesn't matter to me. That doesn't matter. But that's just an indication of the character I believe him to be. Like, he was talking about having his daughter and stuff like that. Like, I have a kid as well, you know, and it's not like there's a difference between like cheating is cheating, but when you do it in combat sports, the consequences are a lot more significant. So that's after really putting it. I have a serious level of needle, you know. Normally I go into my fights, you know, I antagonize and what have you. I antagonize, but I have no emotional connection. And in this instance, I'm not emotionally engaged. Like, it's not going to affect my performance. But I have his card mark. And I already said it to him at the weigh-in. It's there. You put your hands on me. These boys aren't going to stop. I'm going to say it's on. And I could see that was at the rattling him. But that's besides the point. I digress. But anyway, my point is, look, it's I'm not going to be complacent. I know exactly the way he fights. There's a multitude of shots that can be there. I'm not going to go in and pick one. Like, I'm not that whatchamacallit. I'm not that type of fighter that I'm going to reliant on this shot. I know there's a multitude of shots that he's open for, and his attacks, I know what he's going to try and do. He's going to try and ladder me with a big right hand. And then when that doesn't work, or he gets tagged even by a glancing blow, because if I land flush, he's getting knocked out. But if I land a glancing blow and he does the chicken dance, he's going to do that stupid body lock. Just have a look at the Charlie Ward fight, what he did with Charlie. It's essentially what he's probably going to try and do. And then try to take me down, think he can, you know, beat me up. That's big right hand, body lock, try take down, and work as jiu-jitsu. That's non-existent.
Last thing for me, Richard, I really appreciate the time. What's the future after this? Let's say you win this fight. Where would you like to go? What would you like to do? Can I throw an idea out at you, actually? I'd
Yeah.
love to see you versus Dean Barry. I think that'd be a good fight. What do you think? No?
So
Huh?
I like Dean. I like Dean. I like Dean. Okay, so there's probably a big size difference. There's probably a big size. I like Dean. I like Dean. I don't think I'd fight. I don't think I wouldn't fight Dean. You know.
Really? Why not? You never trained together.
I know. I know him. I know him. I know him. He's a good lad. He's
Okay.
you know. I look. I believe that that Dean is can be triggered easily. I think he needs to get some emotional self control. Being completely honest, I think he gets some emotional self control, applies himself. You know, I'd love to see Dean do well. And in fairness to him, I know he got roasted over the whatchamacallit, the UFC stuff, but he got to the UFC. So fucking mind your own business and fucking focus on your own careers, and you know, get yourselves to the UFC. It doesn't matter what way you got there. You got there. It's a fantastic achievement. So more power to him, and I hope he does well in whatever he does. You know.
He's doing a bit of the combat, or the not the combat, but the what's it called? Karate Global.
Yeah, Craig or something. Yeah, something to that effect. Yeah. So.
Would you like to do that, or what do you think?
Yeah, I consider it. I consider it depends what I'd like. Look, where I'm focused on this one. I'm focused on this one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this one. Focus on my performance and focus on fucking book John Redmond to sleep. You know, and like I said, there's a bit of needle here. Like I remember the Daniel Lenishek fight, and I felt guilty over the additional shots. He was out when I threw the hook, and I felt guilty over the additional shots. I felt they were excessive. What happens to Johnny, I'm not going to feel guilty. I'm not going to feel guilty over it. You know.
All right, Richard. I appreciate the time. Best of luck in the fight coming up. I know it's one, you know, the Irish MMA community are talking about, and I have a feeling it's one we're not going to forget for a while. So I'm looking forward to it.
What's your prediction? You give me, because you're a straight. Give me your prediction.
Look, I think you'll win. Obviously, like the one thing though is right. And in fairness, I'll say this: Johnny has beaten a couple of good guys. Like, you know, he's probably beaten.
Come here, listen. Sure, it's on his. He shares it every day on his YouTube. The same fight. He shares the same fight. Have you seen his last? Have you seen his last story? It's just him doing this. Wait, where is it? Just like, hang on. Just stares into the thing. Just like that. He was having a staring match with himself after 6 cans of Tuborg and a few kettle box in the kitchen. But no, look, come here. What he has, he's beaten Glenn Irvine. Glenn Irvine's more skilled. Glenn Irvine got butt into a slow fest. He's got a big right hand. Same with your man Modestus. Just what he has is, if you throw 1,000 right hands, you're bound to land one. You know, and the guys just didn't manage it correctly, and that's what it is. I would be looking at them and questioning the fact that, you know, I would be saying to them, look, that's, you actually gave him the win as opposed to him be doing it with skill. So, but they weren't skilled. They were John Wayners. Point down your gum shield, close your eyes, throw a big right hand, hope they hit. And two out of the volume of the volume of shots he threw landed. So that's it. By the way, sorry, I interrupted you there when you were saying your prediction.
Yeah, my prediction. I think you'll probably win by knockout, if we're being honest. Like, come on. I know. Like, you have. At least recently, I suppose, as well, you performed, you know, better, and John hasn't won in a long time, and you're obviously a better striker than him, in my opinion. I don't think he's necessarily the best wrestling, or you probably have to tell me better as someone who's sparred with him. Like, does he have good wrestling? Can he take you to the ground?
Yeah. What he has, he's tall and he has a body lock, so he has the leverage. So, and he has the leverage and physical attributes. So it's not skill, but it's physical attributes. And he gave Charlie some difficulty with the wrestling until, you know. And that was, again, I would say that was Charlie probably wasn't performing at the level that Charlie can perform at wrestling, because Charlie is very strong in the cage. But look, you saw ultimately what happened there. You know, So yeah, look, I'm not concerned about it, but I'm not complacent. I'm drilling specifically for what I know he's going to bring to the table. He's not clever enough, or he's not fucking diverse enough to be able to add skills, like any other new skills that will throw me. He tries these bloody mavericks, these mad things that he thinks are, you see them coming a mile away, and like fucking all he's short of doing is send you a message. In 5 minutes time, I'm going to do is jump and spin and twirl and kick, you know. And again, hitting Hope Merchant, you know, a brain donor, an absolute brain donor. I swear to God, like, you wouldn't find him doing the Sunday Times crossword.
You wouldn't find me doing that either. Don't worry, so sorry. Richard, I appreciate the time. Thank you very much for joining me. Best of luck in the fight, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching this video on SevereMMA.com. For more wonderful content, please click the like, subscribe, and notification bell, and follow us on these social medias.